And you're back here with us. Now we're on the topic of MJ, Michael Jackson, and how he died. Everyone seems to be even more fond of him now, post-death. Suddenly all his albums are back on the charts. People are rushing out to buy more of his CDs. 7 of the top 10 downloads on iTunes is a Michael Jackson song, and celebrities are writing sweet things about him on Twitter and on their blogs. Now the funny thing is that since '93, when the first molestation case was reported, he has been the butt of jokes, so whether it's on Jay Leno or around like the water cooler around the office. But now everyone seems to be paying so much attention to him.
That's right. I mean, he's been on the papers for the past 4 days, right
right.
on the front cover.
Media frenzy.
What do you guys think? Do you guys think that it's the Michael Jackson phenomena, yeah?
Well, it seems like his life was a little bit of a circus. And it seems like his death is a little bit of a circus as well. You know, you think about it. And dying seems to have been a good career move for him. I read that the demand for his albums and songs are up 80-fold. Can you imagine?
Yeah, Hutch and me were actually talking about Michael Jackson's last album, was it Blood on the Dance Floor? And
it was bad. It was probably one of the worst albums anybody has ever released.
Yeah, because he released one single, it was the video with Chris Tucker, and I just forgot even how the song went.
Yeah, the whole album sound was just...
So do you think, I don't know, it's bad to say, but do you think he passed away at a good time?
Yeah, I think if he'd just been around, done another concert or two, probably released another album, came back with it wouldn't have been good for him. So it's kind of like
so you
a
think
blessing.
he would fade into obscurity?
I think he would have ended up in Vegas.
Yeah,
like Vegas,
like
on a
Elvis.
cruise ship, on a cruise ship.
The kiss of death, right?
Just like how Elvis ended up in Vegas in his last few years in his career, just doing small shows.
But lest we forget, Farrah Fawcett actually passed away, original Charlie's Angel. She's one of the most beautiful women in the world, but no one really cares.
She had a small column on the second page. Yeah.
I think that's a little harsh. What do you
I
guys
think because people knew she was battling cancer some months ago. It was announced, and even then it was like, wow, she's in final stage of
Do you know
cancer and
what kind of cancer it was, though?
It was anal.
Yeah, I mean, how does one even get that? I mean, honestly. Talk about raising awareness for a cause, right? I mean,
Anal cancer. Interesting.
I'm sure people do suffer from that, though, and I hear it's quite painful and...
Yeah,
but more on the topic of how Farrah Fawcett didn't get as much attention as Michael Jackson did.
Because he stayed relevant throughout the decades, whereas she was big for Charlie's Angels, and then what? Right, and then she got together with Ryan O'Neal, had a kid, and then she probably lived quite a quiet life. While Michael Jackson, as Ju-Len mentioned earlier, went on to live this big life of a circus where he got involved in like scandals with kids, and then there's this whole thing about his house and trying to stage a comeback. And
but what do you think? Like people are more willing to forgive his flaws all of a sudden, Like prior to his death, no one is buying his albums. Everyone had sort of like a not so much a bad thing to say about him, but something humorous to say about him. But now he's dead. Everyone's like so sensitive about Michael Jackson and his life.
Yeah, do you think people took him for granted? Like they always thought that he'd be alive till a ripe old age.
I think people thought he would be alive for a long time to come.
Longer.
So it's fine to make fun of him when he's alive, lah. Is that fair to say?
I think people didn't expect him to die so soon because he did collapse once, I believe, before some show, but he's always come out okay. He's gone through multiple cosmetic surgeries. His nose fell off once. He had to patch it back in and all. So he's always come out unscathed.
But I think you give it a couple of months and the jokes are going to come back again. It's only the initial shock of it. Yeah. Like, there'll be worse things that come out. There's going to be worse scandals coming out in the papers.
Well, what I said earlier, circus in life, but also circus in death. So I think all this sort of interest in his music and stuff, we're kind of seeing it's just because of this sort of circus fanfare that surrounds his death. I think Hutch is right. I'll give it a few months, the jokes will come back, and then after that I think we'll all sort of forgotten about the whole thing.
Do you think Michael Jackson is someone that can be forgotten, though?
I don't think he will ever be forgotten. I think people will just be releasing things like tribute albums, tribute concerts, anthologies, the box set.
Number one hits.
Well, look at Elvis. I mean, they'll start seeing Michael Jackson in supermarkets.
We'll have like a
trailer parks.
director's cut.
They start saying that he's alive, he didn't really die, he faked it so that he could go out on a high. So he could
raise his album sales will go up and stuff like that. And because he didn't want to play the concert and stuff like that, the reunion next month.
So no, do you think people miss him now more than when he was alive?
Yeah.
Just to
sum up, do you think that people do miss him now even more than when he was alive?
Well, let me ask you a question. How much did you think of him last Wednesday?
No, that's a very good. That's a very, very good question. That's a very good question. Thursday came around, everyone knew that he was dead, and you're just like, oh wow.
It's a funny thing because I was actually listening to his entire CD the night before I found out he died. So I found it a freaky coincidence.
Don't read my blogs ever. No. I don't listen to his music either ever.
I mean, to answer Ju-Len's question, I mean, were you thinking about Michael Jackson like in the past?
I have to agree with it because I don't think many people were actually thinking about him or had him in mind last week or the week before that or even last month. And I think that the fact that he died comes as a shock because, as I mentioned earlier, I don't think people would expect him to fade out so fast. And the fact that he's no longer here, that brings back awareness. And people are like, oh yeah, he is the king of pop. You know, he contributed so much to music, so they are reminded of it, and therefore they go out and all this outpour of emotion starts. And
so you don't think it's guilt?
I don't think it's guilt. I don't think it's guilt at all.
He was just sort of left out of the limelight for a long time.
Yep.
Now people realize that, oh, you know what? Yeah, he is the king of pop. What do you think?
Well, his music goes across the ages. I don't think his music will ever die. The beats are relevant to today. Some of the things that he says is relevant to today's world as well. So he's got music that can carry on for generation after generation after generation.
Okay, it's funny you say that. Being in radio, I mean, you get like sort of this immediate response from the fans or listeners. Has it been a resurgence of requests for your songs on, say, 913 or radio in general?
Not particularly. Like, I do the nighttime, right? Yeah. So I get a lot of kids who are up studying late. Some of them didn't even know about it because they were studying, and then when we broke the news to them, they were a bit shocked. But the requests haven't come in from them. People haven't been like demanding hugely to hear him on air, which is a bit of a surprise as well. But I don't know. I just think it may not be relevant to the younger generation. Like maybe late 20s to early 40s, they might be the ones that like, I made out to Billie Jean with my girlfriend, right? But for us, it's like I made out to Crush by David Archuleta. So
that's a song about paternity, you realize? That's not the best song to be making out to.
Well, I mean, so there you have it. I mean, whether it's a collective guilt, or it's just, people finally realizing that...
I think it's awareness.
Yeah, awareness that he is the king of pop. There you have it. That's our show for today.